wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, and if I lose the fight, I still rage against the night. Don't box I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday. Welcome. Wait, it is Tuesday, right? It is. Welcome, everybody. Derry Bennett, 13 days left until the election. Indeed. 13 days. Heat, how's it going? Let's go. Indeed. Taco Tuesday. Kamikatsu, welcome. Alright, I think we're good. Welcome, everybody. All right, folks. Anyone get some of those Trump fries? Welcome to Ponder Monkey. No, I was not lucky enough to be served ultra processed fries by President Trump. Good Lord. We'll be talking a little bit about that in just a moment. The More Perfect Union brought up a segment on this, and I think it's worth taking a look about. It's about the owner of that very McDonald's that Trump specifically chose for a very specific reason. E. coli found in McDonald's Quarter Pounders. Careful eating there. Yikes. Yeah, McDonald's isn't a place I go to very often anyways. Like, there has got to be a dire situation for me to go to McDonald's. Give me 1 second, folks. That's okay. I play it safe and eat it at Taco Bell. Nice. You know, for all the hate that Taco Bell gets, they're really not as bad as some other Taco Bell is really not that bad as far as like fast food goes. But yeah. I suppose in any of these locations you kind of roll in the dice. That's my favorite for bad food. Gotcha. Give me 1 second, folks. I once again have left my drink outside. Give me a second. I promise it will literally only just take like less than 30 seconds. Be right there. I have a Sonic drink. Nice. Okay. Yeah, like I was saying, like Taco Bell really isn't that bad as far as bad food goes. I grew up in New Mexico. It's a guilty pleasure. Fuzzies? We don't have that here. Never heard of a Fuzzies. Alright, folks, let's get started. We're going to try to do this short stream. Short stream mode. Folks, if you enjoy the content... Oh, it's a taco place? Gotcha. If you enjoy the content, consider helping out the channel in many different ways. You can follow the channel here on Twitch. You can like the stream on YouTube. Subscribe. There's 259 subscribers on YouTube, if you can believe it. And join the Discord, folks. This Saturday is the official movie night for Saturday, or for the monthly movie night. It's going to be this Saturday, so consider joining the Discord if you want to participate. We are going to be streaming The Nightmare Before Christmas, and also join us. Join us on Halloween if you want to indulge in some spooky movies. We'll be playing a couple. I think we might be able to squeeze in like 3 movies, maybe, throughout the day, starting at about noon. Pretty sure we can squeeze in like about maybe about 3 movies, I think. I watched Descent yesterday. That's one that's on the list. Put that on the Discord. So yeah, if you want to join us for a spooky day on Halloween, feel free to join the Discord, folks. And you get some updates on the channel as well. So like, let's say if there's no stream, or if there is a time change, you will be notified on the Discord. It's probably the best way to keep up with the channel. If you want to support the channel, consider checking out the merch store, which I do like. I'm gonna probably order a couple things myself again, because I like it. I tried to watch it on TV and they took a lot of stuff out. Gotcha. Yeah, the TV versions of these just TV versions of movies in general are heavily edited. Alright, folks, let's get started. I need to place an order. I've been eyeing David Dole's merch too. Heck yeah. Speaking of which, well, we'll get to one of his videos after this one.
As you all know, we live in a late-stage capitalist system, and as a result, billionaires are openly trying to buy elections through a number of methods. Through direct campaign contributions, through super PACs, and of course, propagandistic ad buys like the ones that you see over and over and over again every single day during election seasons, which I'm sure you all enjoy very much. But here's one thing that they can't buy. Genuine enthusiasm.
Hey, You can't get election ads if you don't watch too much TV. Oh, wait, no, that's actually not true because we get election ads on YouTube. Never mind, just ignore me.
Enthusiasm.
I thought I had something there for a second. I love mugs. I need to buy mugs.
And some billionaires had to learn this the hard way. For example, back in 2020, during the Democratic Party primary, billionaire Mike Bloomberg was putting lots of money into his campaign, and he was paying deputy field organizers $2,500 a month to canvass for him. And even though that was admittedly a really good gig for broke college students, it didn't necessarily produce the results that he'd hoped for. And I say this because the LA Times reported that most of the canvassers that they talked to from his campaign were only doing it for the money, and a lot of them didn't even support Bloomberg's candidacy. And the worst part was that some of them were even going rogue and campaigning for Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren while they were getting paid to campaign for Bloomberg. And
amazing. Love it. You'll love to see it, folks.
guess what? It seems like the same thing might actually be happening to Elon Musk after he invested more than $70 million into his pro-Trump super PAC called America PAC and basically took over ground operations for the Trump campaign, which was not the brightest idea from the Trump campaign, but they basically outsourced field operations to Elon Musk, and now it may come back to bite them. So there's a problem with the canvassing. So as Reuters explains, Musk's America PAC is trying to ramp up efforts to reach low propensity voters after falling short of their daily objectives, which puts their main election objective in jeopardy if they don't reach this goal. And as a result, state leaders and even Musk himself are trying to increase the number of doors that they're knocking on so that way they can meet their goal and ultimately help Trump get elected. And as a result of this pressure campaign, the number of doors that they've knocked on has actually increased. But there's a huge problem. There is a very large percentage of canvassers who aren't actually knocking on doors, but they're saying that they did. And the number of America PAC canvassers that are reportedly doing this is so high, it could literally cost Trump the entire election. As
man, you know what? If that happens, that would be so incredibly hilarious. That would be so incredibly hilarious that, like, this entire thing, because, like, it would make sense that, like, one of the, you know, biggest con men, period, would be done in by a con like this, right? The Bloomberg guy that came to my door was a Bernie guy. Nice. That's too funny. By the way, folks, if you gift a sub or sub to the channel, you get 3 months of Nitro. Of Discord Nitro. That's a new thing that Twitch made up until until October 31st. So if you're into the Discord, that's something to take advantage of.
Hugo Lowell of The Guardian reports, leaked America PAC data obtained by The Guardian shows that roughly 24% of the door knocks in Arizona and 25% of the door knocks in Nevada this week were flagged under its internal unusual survey logs, a metric used to determine faked doors. The Arizona data, for example, shows that out of...
Or gift a mug. Gifts are accepted and encouraged. Yeah, you can, actually. Yeah, I think you can gift... You can gift merch with the way this is set up. You can gift merch, by the way. because I'm live, if you go to the website here, let's say you want to do this, you can gift it right here. Oh, nice. I was kidding. No, you can unironically do that. You can unironically do that. See? If stop it, come back. If you've got the little live button, you can do that.
35,692 doors hit by 442 canvassers that are working for Blitz Canvassing in the America Pack operation on Wednesday. 8,511 doors were flagged under the unusual survey logs. The extent of the flagged doors in America Pac's operation underscores the risk of outsourcing a ground game program where paid canvassers are typically not as invested in their candidate's victory compared with volunteers or campaign staff. You don't say. Now, Musk's America Pac is emphatically denying that there's this level of fraud, and to be fair to them, it is a conspicuously high number, but The Guardian spoke to other auditors who said that the unusual activity logs were actually pretty good at detecting real fraud, and The Guardian themselves performed their own tests to determine whether or not Elon Musk's app was just overly sensitive and needed to be recalibrated.
You know, I mean, even if like a good chunk of that is true, that is not good. That is not good for the Trump campaign, and very, very good for everybody else.
And they compared it to other apps, and turns out the app works because the rate of suspected fakes for Musk's Sidekick app was about the same as other canvassing apps when they did their test, meaning that this doesn't seem to be a mistake. The 25% fraud rate in Arizona and Nevada seems to be accurate.
Save time. Easily connect your website to pay.
I'm an ADT show. Me too.
Which is insane. And when you look at specific activity that the app flagged as unusual, it doesn't take an expert to understand why the app is saying that the things that it's detecting might be fraud. Lowell continues, the unusual activity logs, for instance, showed a canvasser who was marked by GPS as sitting at a Gallo's on the Trail restaurant half a mile away from the doors he was supposedly hitting in Globe, Arizona. Another canvasser was recorded marking voters as not home 2 blocks away from that apartment. And that's just a couple of examples of unusual activity that's being flagged. But as you can tell, it's being flagged for good reason, because those instances of supposed door knocking were pretty sus. But listen, regardless of how good you actually pay door knockers, Elon Musk is paying them anywhere between $20 and $40 an hour, which is good, but it's still not fun. So it's easy to understand why people would fake it to make it if they're not actually invested in the campaign and don't believe in what they're doing. I'll admit, I did the same thing. When I was working in retail, we were given like 2,000 flyers to advertise some sale, and we were supposed to place them on doors, and I took 500 of them, and we didn't even have to knock on the doors. We just had to leave flyers on the porches, but I hated doing it. After a couple of blocks, it was exhausting. You go to apartment complexes, you go up the stairs, down the stairs, up the stairs, down the stairs. And in that same complex, I was yelled at by a lady for suspiciously delivering flyers. This was before the tattoos and the beard. So I don't know if she thought I was trying to break into their cars. I was just trying to deliver these shitty flyers. So you know what I said? I said, fuck it. So I decided to go to a Starbucks, threw all of the remaining flyers in the trash, which is most of them, ordered myself a coffee, and then sat in my car and browsed my phone for a couple of hours. And then I went back and said that I delivered all of them. Nobody asked a single question.
Nice.
Now, this is something that I think is pretty common. And you can avoid this by paying for extra labor and creating a sort of buddy system, assuming people are going to keep each other honest. Or you can also conduct audits. And America Pac leaders, they're trying to do just that. The problem is that they can't get enough people to conduct audits because, again, we're 2 weeks away from the election. So finding a qualified person who's honest for a 2-week job is a pretty tall order. But that raises another question. Why not fire the people who are lying? And to be fair, they have fired the people who are lying, but the problem is that They only fire them for the most egregious violations. For example, one guy, he was fired for supposedly hitting almost 800 doors in 5 days, but every single one of them was literally flagged as suspicious, which is hilarious to me.
Jesus.
But most people, they're not going to be that brazen, and they're probably going to knock on some doors, then fudge the numbers a little bit in other places. So the question is, why not fire them too, so that way 100% of the doors that they say they're knocking on are being knocked on? Well, as Lowell explains, part of the problem with paid canvassing in general is that canvassing vendors are disincentivized to fire canvassers the more doors they hit, because the vendors are paid by the door. If the doors are not hit, the vendor owes money back to the client or owes that many free doors. For America PAC, there is further disincentive for vendors to fire canvassers who might only be frauding one door out of every 10, effectively someone who just cuts corners, because the labor supply of canvassers is diminished this late in the cycle, and hiring a replacement is increasingly difficult, to people familiar with the situation said. So it's a real conundrum for them, and it's understandable why they would deny that fraud is this big of a problem, because if word gets out that you can fudge the numbers and they probably aren't going to fire you, that could create an even bigger problem if people realize that, oh, we can just sit in restaurant parking lots and get paid. Awesome.
Hey, it's a free money glitch.
Now, since they can't confirm beyond a shadow of a doubt if somebody is fudging the numbers, they probably don't have cause to fire them. And furthermore, is it really worth it to fire them if 90% of their door knocks are legitimate? Are you really going to replace them and possibly get somebody who's going to do only 50%? So this is what happens when an entire campaign is astroturfed and there's no real enthusiasm. But in the meantime, they're trying to hire more people to actually knock on doors. But this desire to hire people quickly has sounded the alarms for Republicans, who are now worried what the hell is happening, and they're questioning whether or not Musk might actually have screwed over Donald Trump by taking over field operations.
I hope this ends up being the case, because like I will laugh so hard, okay? I will literally crab rave for like 10 minutes straight if that ends up being the case. And like Derry Bennett posted earlier, there's literally less than 2 weeks left. There's about 13 days left to the election. And if this clown single-handedly torpedoed Trump's campaign, I mean, like, that is just chef's kiss of irony of ironies, okay?
As this New Republic article points out. And they go on to quote a GOP mega donor who told Rolling Stone, "Why isn't the army already in place?" in response to news that America PAC was still trying to hire canvassers 2 weeks before the election. Furthermore, some members of Trump's inner circle are also worried about the campaign's over-reliance on Musk's America PAC. Although Trump is apparently ignoring red flags because momentarily he likes Elon Musk. We'll see if he still likes him after this election. But in all fairness, America PAC does have people working for them who actually do care about getting Trump elected. So I don't want to discount the real enthusiasm that does exist. There are people who are trying to put in the work to get Trump elected. The problem is that even for those people, Elon Musk is inadvertently making it harder for them to do their jobs as well. The Washington Post actually talked to one woman who was canvassing for Donald Trump through America PAC, and she explains that it was a nightmare. Quote, "The mobile app she used to map her route and know which home she should visit kept glitching. Several times it directed her to knock on the door of a house with blue lawn signs endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris."
I mean, average Twitter experience, honestly, like the website is freaking cooked. So it's no surprise that this app is screwed too. Globus the Elder, welcome. Can't have been single-handedly. JD had something to do with it, I know. I mean, that would also make me laugh and crab rave for about 10 minutes straight. This is frustrating part. Trump is flailing, but Harris is not pulling ahead of him. Yeah, I know. And, you know, I blame the Democrats. Seriously. Like, how are we in this position? Like, it is so freaking sad, just to kind of touch on that real quick. It is so freaking sad that we are in a position as a country where, like, this dude has a chance of winning the election, and like the opposition party, the so-called opposition party, is literally neck to neck with this guy, you know? Are you playing the Rashnash? Yeah, I got him right here. About walls? Yes. Cognizant, welcome.
Most of her knocks so far that day had received no response, and the few voters who answered were either undecided or uninterested in talking. And the article says that she was actually discouraged after canvassing for about 3.5 hours because she was getting yelled at by people who don't like Donald Trump because the app was presumably giving her bad data on who to actually contact. But ironically, this canvasser who actually wants to help Donald Trump was fired by America PAC after she got into a dispute with them over pay. We don't know the specifics. I don't know if she was stiffed, but the reason why she's still doing it is because she was hired by a different vendor who contracts with America PAC.
That tracks. You know, Donald Trump isn't. Well, this isn't his operation, but it would super track that she got mad that she wasn't getting paid. Pirate Ninja, welcome. How's it going, everybody? It's going.
So
yeah, hey. to add to that, we're hanging off by the seat of our pants here.
One of the few people we're talking to here that actually want to help Elon Musk get Trump elected, they were fired. They were mistreated, presumably. Again, we don't know, but it's just funny. And even they're complaining this is pretty difficult. But I mean, again, even though you're being paid $20 to $40 an hour, it becomes discouraging real quick if that's your experience every single day. So if this is the experience of somebody who believes in what they're doing, it's easy to see why others who don't believe are just taking the money and then parking in a restaurant for a couple of hours. But another reason why they're still desperate to find canvassers this late in the game, in part, is thanks to Elon Musk himself. The Washington Post continues, in July, America PAC fired 2 of its initial vendors as they were ramping up their work, leading the committee to start over just months before the election. A few weeks later, the committee fired another vendor that had been brought on to lead canvassing efforts.
Amazing. Elon Musk, okay? Single-handedly, like, you know, when he said that he was interested in saving democracy, this is not what I thought he had in mind, but you know what? I'll take it. Why would Antifa do this? Is what Elon's doing legal? Well, this particular operation is, you know, but we were talking about this yesterday, where he's effectively buying registrations. Like, he's effectively buying people to register with a $1 million sweepstakes. And, like, no matter how you slice it, like, that's not okay. You're essentially buying people to register to vote with the intention of affecting the election. Like, that's what he's doing. Yeah. I would never give in to the overwhelming feeling of dread, but yeah. It's legal until a legal precedent is set. How can they still be in the running? I don't know. Elon getting scammed by his door knockers. Yep. Indeed.
In Arizona and Nevada after the initial round of firing, said another person familiar with the decisions. And this isn't surprising because we've all seen the way that he's run Twitter into the ground. Now, the reasons why he's fired vendors range from them not being transparent enough for him to him accusing them of grifting, which, to be fair to Elon Musk, is a possibility, but he's not really the best person to accuse of that. Either way, it's already hard enough to find people in field work, but when Elon Musk keeps hitting the reset button and taking the entire operation back to square one.
Yeah, it causes huge problems, which I'm a big fan of. Big fan of. Trump campaign always hiring the best of the best of the best, indeed. Like, he seems to be doing flagrantly illegal stuff. Yeah, it seems to be a common theme here because there's no type of accountability unless, like Cognizant said, unless there's like a precedent set. In other words, unless like what actually is on the books is being followed, It's not going to happen. I can't believe these grifters grifted our grift to grift others.
That is going to make things even harder for the people who actually are there to do a good job. But putting aside his America PAC for a moment, Musk is trying to find different ways to use his money to help Trump. For example, he tweeted that he's giving away $47 to every single person that gets somebody to sign his swing state petition, presumably so he can collect their voter data.
Yeah, the whole point is to have that voter data to do voter outreach.
Now, he sweetened the pot by announcing that he'd also be giving away $1 million per day to a person in a battleground state who signs his petition. But here's the thing. They don't necessarily have to be a Republican to win the money, so as MSNBC legal correspondent Katie Fang points out, so if a whole bunch of Democrats sign Elon's petition, then he could end up paying them $1 million, and even those winners end up voting for Kamala Harris? And the answer to that question is yes, it's plausible. And if that's the case, Musk could be unknowingly giving millions of dollars to people who despise Donald Trump. And this isn't necessarily even going to do anything to help get the vote out for Donald Trump, because you can't pay people to vote, but you can pay them to sign a petition. And
But the problem, I think the problem here, and I could be wrong, but like I think the problem here, we went over this yesterday, is that is that you have to be registered to vote in order for you to be eligible for this sweepstakes. That's the problem. Specifically legal to offer money to vote? No, the problem here is that I don't know if Mike realized, but it's not just signing the petition, it's you have to be registered to vote. So that's the problem. You cannot offer money to register to vote, and you cannot offer money to pay people to vote, right? Like you those two things are they're just no-nos. You can't do that because that's effectively, for all intents and purposes, election tampering and bribery. We even went over it. It's not okay. Kamala voters are less likely to fork over their privacy for $47. That sounds like a loophole. No, if it was just a petition, it would be one thing, right? Because like it has that would be a loophole. You're right, Pirate Ninja. If it was just a petition, it would be one thing. But it's not. It's a petition, but you have to be registered to vote. That's the problem. That's where we run into the legal issues. Here we are. Erica, hey, welcome. It's about 1.5 pizzas. It's legal because he's not paying them to register. He's paying registered voters to take a survey. Right, but like, I mean, it's a, what is it? It's a distinction without a difference, because like the point, because the problem is that if only registered voters can win this $1 million, then effectively what you're doing is getting people to register for votes. The whole problem is that while it's true, like you said, he's paying these registered voters to take a survey, but in that inverse, you are incentivizing people to register to then be able to be a part of this sweepstakes, right? And the fact that he's only doing this in what is arguably like the swing states kind of like really hints to the intent of what he's doing, right? The fact that he's only doing this in the swing states kind of puts the intent like pretty squarely. Lawyers have something to work with, he'll get away with it. It would be like paying licensed drivers to take a survey about Tesla cars. Right, but you'd have to be yeah, kind of, but like the whole point is you'd be you'd be bribing essentially people to buy a Tesla, right? You would be giving them money to buy that Tesla. It's still legal. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna debate like that they'll always find some kind of like specific clause of whatever code that this is kind of skirting around, but I do think that it raises problems because like the intent is to really change the outcome, to change the outcome of the election, right? Like you're effectively like bribing people, you're effectively bribing people to register, right? Because only registered people in swing states can participate. It's immoral, but still legal.
Banking on this translating into actual enthusiasm and votes for Donald Trump when there's no evidence that that's going to be the case. They're probably just going to take the money and run. Or if they take the money, they were already going to vote for Donald Trump. So this just feels meaningless. But I mean, it goes back to him thinking that he can generate enthusiasm for Donald Trump with his wealth when it doesn't work that way. If the enthusiasm is there, it's going to be there. You can't create it because you have money, and you can't buy enthusiasm for people. This is something that billionaires like Elon Musk and Mike Bloomberg continuously fail to understand. But there's one more sign that Elon Musk's America PAC is as incompetent as reports seem to indicate. So one canvasser told the Washington Post anonymously in
It's probably not illegal, but it's another example of how our election system has a great deal of things that aren't illegal but haven't been done because of, quote, gentlemen's agreements. That's a very good point.
an unnamed battleground state that during their training session at a field office, they were instructed to not try to convince undecided voters to support Donald Trump, and were instead told to focus their efforts on making sure that Trump supporters vote early. I'm going to repeat that. They're not trying to convince undecideds. They're just trying to make sure that the people who already committed to vote for Donald Trump are actually going to vote early. That, my friends, is not a very good idea. That is wasted energy. Now, we don't know if this field office is an outlier, but if other canvassers are actually
My cell data is not working well. I keep dropping off. Sorry, Pirate Ninjas.
prioritizing this, and leaders are saying focus on getting out the early vote for Trump and not convincing undecideds, let me tell you, it would be a catastrophic error for Trump's campaign. So if Trump ends up losing this election, there's going to be a lot of pissed off Republicans pointing the finger at Elon Musk, and for damn good reason.
I hope so, man. That's too funny. That is too freaking funny. I have no doubt that would be legal if Dems did it. Right, like imagine, I mean, like, why aren't? Question. Why aren't the Democrats doing stuff like this? No. Honestly, like a lot of loopholes need to be fixed here, because like this can't be, right? You can't have a billionaire oligarch. You can't have a billionaire oligarch being able to operate like this with absolutely no freaking consequences. Like, essentially, like we're a skip and a hop away from just saying, like, you know what? We should just outright allow these rich people to just buy votes directly, right? Never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. Survey takers are buying annoying voting donation ads in perpetuity. Like the whole thing is kind of like really bad as it is. The fact that like super PACs exist is already like a bad thing. But like we can't have oligarchs raffling off, millions of dollars, so people can register to vote, with the intent of affecting our elections. I mean, seriously, that is like absurd. That is beyond absurd. Anyways, TLDR, I hope it all blows up in Trump's face, and we see it play out in November 5th in about just under 2 weeks. By the way, folks, now that that just reminded me, if you're in Georgia, early voting is now open until November 1st, folks. Early voting is all this week and next week. Depending on where you are, voting locations are open on Saturdays. So check your local county if you're in Georgia, or if you know somebody in Georgia. Early voting is going on right now. Early voting is going on right now. Mouselander. Boom. Ed Zachary, 2 weeks. See what you did there. If you think Musk is that bad, I have 4 words for you. Sheldon Adelson, Charles Koch. True. True. I mean, like, Musk is just like... Musk is doing it, like, outwardly. Meanwhile, like, Charles Koch and has been doing this for decades behind the scenes. So yeah, I mean, it's not good. It's not great. Not good. Not great.
The Cheney thing.
Leonard Leo.
The Cheney thing. Do we really have to do that?
Finally, somebody asked the question that I've been wanting the campaign to be asked since they have embraced the Cheney endorsements.
Yep. That is so freaking phenomenal. That is such a that is such a good freaking question, man. To be asked like that, just straight up. Like, hey man, do we really need to do this? Leonard Leo is the Leonard Leo is the Federalist Society. Have you ever heard of Ed Zachary disease? No. No, I have not. How do y'all know so much about all this? I honestly need to prioritize politics over Netflix, for instance. I mean, Google. Google. Mainly because, like, especially with, like, the Charles Koch thing, he's particularly notorious for me because I do a lot of climate crisis content. So he's kind of a staple when I'm looking at, information with regards to the climate crisis. He is like a staple of, like, who to frickin' blame, at least one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, so to speak. Charles Koch and the now dead Koch brothers, have been a staple in anti climate change legislation movements, whatever you want to call it. Two and a half decades of paying attention and reading. S.V. Harkin, Leo's no longer running the Federalist Society, but he was given a $2 billion for a PAC for down ballot races. Nice. Just casually, just $2 billion.
Tim Walz on Jon Stewart last night, and I'll get to
I used to have Coke employees on my LinkedIn feed. Fun times. Oof.
Walz's response to this question. I'm also going to get to the clip from Chris Matthews of MSNBC and his thoughts on the whole Liz Cheney thing, which I got thoughts on that. But then later on, a better clip, Naomi Klein, author and journalist, and her thoughts on the campaign. And I completely agree with her. But let's start first with this clip. Why the Cheneys?
I only got interested when Trump was elected. Fair enough.
How is that? The Cheney thing. Do we really have to do that?
Look, it goes broader than that. Look, Bernie Sanders,
Sup?
Dick Cheney, Taylor Swift.
No.
Whoa, no. Bro, really?
Shooting?
No.
Having the Cheneys on board?
Nah. You can't Dick Cheney or Taylor Swift. No.
We're a big tent.
No. A big tent doesn't have to include war criminals and fascists. W was my catalyst. I would have voted for W. Bush if I were old enough to register. Yeah, not that big. I'm sure it was a focus group tested thing. They thought they could get some Republicans. Yeah, which is absurd. Like this is like 2016 levels of mistakes, right? Like what you're gonna try to convince what the two Cheney voters. These are the same, by the way. These are the same two voters you're gonna get from like the whole like attempt at getting Nikki Haley voters. You know what I mean? Isn't election day like 2 weeks away? More or less. About just under it, yes. S.V. Harkin, also Cheney didn't have a also Cheney didn't have a job.
What country did Taylor Swift get us to invade? No.
No,
Yeah.
don't you think, though, that, and I do
No, I don't. No. Whatever you're gonna say, Tim Walz, listen. Peace and love, okay? Peace and love. You started this campaign swinging, okay? You started this campaign swinging. But like, no. Whatever you're about to say, no. I didn't care about politics and then Reagan got elected. That will wake you up. Yeah. That'll do it. If I was alive during that time, I would probably have been I probably would have been activated by a Reagan presidency. No doubt about it. The Dems are the new Republicans and the Republicans slid off the scale. I'm glad you're playing this video. This is important, honestly. This is important. Because you don't get to see this often. Walz is getting a Clockwork Orange by the DNC. The punk rockers hated Reagan.
Yes, I believe this.
Yeah.
There is still a core group of folks out there, your point being, and not joke, the don't tread on me, the Reagan piece of this, the libertarian piece, but the constitutional piece.
Yes.
There are a lot of people out there. I think Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney give permission to those folks who want to find a reason to do the right thing.
No, man. Listen. I can count on one hand the amount of the amount of Liz Cheney voters that exist, okay, to the extent I'm obviously memeing, but like the point stands, right? That what are we doing here exactly? Like we're chasing what? The strategy here is to chase the two Liz Cheney voters that would actually flip from Republican to Democrat. Like what's the plan here? What's the reasoning? And like if they want to do the right thing and vote against fascism, then they already have that. They're already on their way. They would already they would have already made that decision. You know. Also, Kamala has some ideas that she needs to prove that she can be commander in chief. Why would they start doing the right thing now? They stand Cheney.
It doesn't mean they agree with us. We're not going to take their foreign policy decisions and discussions, and implement those.
Right. And like meanwhile, you're bleeding like actual Democratic support. Like actual Democratic support that would otherwise it would turn out for you. Reagan was a big McCarthyite, bigoted ghoul from day one. Yep. Cheney destroyed this country. Dick Cheney scared the living heck out of Beelzebub, Lord of Darkness.
We're going to take their
promise?
Yes, promise.
Any of those things?
Yeah.
First off, it's really incredible that Jon Stewart continues to be one of the only actual journalists that are following these campaigns. How has this question not been posed? It's CNN, MSNBC, whoever it is. Their view on politics is so within a bubble where they view it just based around these politicians in Washington on the national scale, as opposed to looking at policy or looking at the popularity of these candidates or these individuals. Liz Cheney, Dick Cheney, these are not popular people. They're not popular.
Yeah, that's also a good point. Like, what is the plan exactly here? Like, maybe from a like strategic point of view, you could parade around a Republican that's popular. This is hypothetical because, like, let's be honest, Republicans aren't that popular. Their policies are not popular. I mean, like, just we're talking about a unicorn Republican that would actually be popular enough to parade around in an attempt to get Republican votes to win the election, right? Like this is nonsensical. This is nonsensical. Also, effing Anita Dunn is helping run her campaign and is evil. They're popular to the DNC strategists. I see what you did there, Heat.
With Democrats, obviously.
That doesn't make them popular. Could have gotten Mitt Romney. Like, even then, but like, is Mitt Romney like like a popular like Republican that would get like support? Because like I'm really grasping at straws. I didn't do anything. It was Cheney. Whew. Like, would Mitt Romney be like popular enough to parade around as a like, like, hey, look at us, we're getting the bipartisanship thing? Like, no, I don't think so. They have 30-word policy: stop the steal, drill, baby, build the wall, arm the fetus. Nah, yeah, I didn't think so. Like, we're talking about like a hypothetical unicorn Republican that doesn't exist that you can parade around. But like, seriously,
they aren't popular with independents. They aren't popular with Republicans.
Period.
I still, to this day,
yeah, like right now, Liz Cheney is like is unpopular with like everybody, right? Like, even on the right. So it doesn't make any sense. Like, if you're trying to get votes from the right, you're using a person who nobody on the right likes. They already deemed her a rhino and a traitor, even though like she voted like over 90-something% with Trump's agenda. She said that the election was not rigged, so therefore she's now persona non grata, a rhino. So yeah, I like what is why? He was a presidential candidate. Yeah, but like I don't know.
Do not know why you would think it's a strategic move to embrace the Cheneys. It's possible there are a few people out there that are moved by these sorts of embracing of the Cheneys. And by embracing, I mean Harris is doing campaign events with Liz Cheney. Like it's one thing to, have an endorsement out in the ether, you can't control it. It's another to bring the person into your campaign, the person that is not popular and may actually be hurting you. This is even if there is, a handful of people that for some reason are now turned on to Kamala Harris are going to vote because Liz Cheney's endorsement, that is offset by the kind of people you are losing.
Right. As Michael Hasser pointed out, Cosmopolitics rating with a party of 12. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. If you don't know who I am a difficult truth. I do the news. I do the politics. We are here from Monday through Thursday around 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you enjoy your stay, consider hitting that follow button. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys, and thank you Cosmopolitics for bringing your wonderful community. If you haven't done so, please take a moment and go show some support to twitch.tv/Cosmopolitics, and also follow her on Twitter as well. If they put her in a cabinet, I'm moving. What did Biden offer us? Unity. What does Harris offer? A friggin' unity. It's the same playbook. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense because like unity with who? The fascists? No, thank you. And as David Dole just points out, and Michael Hasser pointed out earlier, you're bleeding support because of these type of moves, right? Like, why am I in a tent with members of a fascist party, right? Like, I'm good on that.
By not embracing the base, by not talking to people that would come out to vote for you if you spoke to their issues and focused the campaign on hope, on the joyous campaign you had in the first month, on embracing progressive policy that is popular in a majority.
Right. Like, man, that's so freaking like angering. That's so freaking angering that, Tim Walz came out swinging. And with receipts, by the way, he has done some objectively good policies as governor. And like, man, all you got to do is recreate that, man, and just run on that. Run on that. Is Kamala trying to keep AIPAC and the AIPAC and lobby off her ass? I mean, I don't know.
But look at this is the one thing I wish John would have brought up in that questioning.
We set up the Harris Fight Fund program to protect every vote. Here is why your contribution is critical.
The polling. The polling since the Harris campaign has taken a turn to the right to try and appeal to more Republican conservative voters. So nationally, it's narrowed, as you can see here. The height of the Harris campaign was around the end of August. This is during the DNC. Then the Harris speech at the DNC, the foreign policy section was kind of dark and was a hint at things to come. This is when they began to try and appeal more to conservative voters as the polling narrowed a bit and then continues to narrow.
Yeah, just use the command /shoutout and it should work, by the way, I think. I'm going to try it. Hey, there you go. Walz is great alone, but he's a team player.
To the point where it is now under 2% difference between Harris and Trump. Now, of course, national polling doesn't matter as much as state by state. States like Michigan. Look at this. Wide lead here. wide, considering where things tend to be in these states, but her widest lead was late August. Then again, the move towards the right, a little bump here during or after the debate, but again narrowed to the point where Harris is now up by only 0.2% on average in Michigan.
Like this is absurd. I mean, like this is embarrassing. Michigan is an important state, one of the swing states. This is embarrassing.
Wisconsin, another popular or important state here. Look at where it was. Late August. Again, this is the height of the hope campaign, of joy, of clowning Republicans, calling them weird. The height of all of that. And then they moved to the right. They took on some moronic advisors that thought it was a good idea to move them to the right. And look at where things have gone. Why would the vast majority of Republican voters, of conservative voters, why would they vote for Kamala Harris when they have Trump?
Right, and like, why parading around with Cheney as like an endorsement gonna make those people switch? Right? It's not. It's a lose-lose situation. It's a straight up lose situation because none of those Republican people are gonna look at Cheney and go, yeah, now I'm gonna vote for Harris and Walz. Anita would tell Kamala not to break from Biden to protect her own reputation. How can polls say even, but early voting is 2/3 for Harris? Well, polling might change as the last couple of weeks go in, because...
And they've been with Trump.
It also may be that early voting is favoring Democrats. Early voting may favor Democrats, but who knows? Maybe that will change as the final results come in from November 5th.
Trump since the beginning. So yeah,
I mean, like, I'm expecting a very close race. With like this race is going to be like razor thin. This race is going to be razor thin. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we're down to like the last wire. I wouldn't be surprised if this election is just like millimeters, okay, of daylight between the votes.
You may be peeling off a few people who don't like Trump. Of course, those people exist, but why? Those people will either stay home, right? Or in a rare case, they might vote Democrat, but they're already going to make that decision, right? All you're doing is hurting yourself by taking on the Cheneys. It is not. It is being offset. This turn to the right is being offset by the kind of people in your base that you are potentially losing, who weren't interested under Joe Biden, who had lost interest in supporting him because of how far right he was moving, particularly on foreign policy. And now Harris just sort of being a continuation of that, at least in terms of her campaigning. Look where it is. This is just, it's stupid politics. It's stupid. It's wrong both in terms of policy and it's wrong in terms of what is successful in a campaign. That I know some people watching this are like, so you're going to support Trump? No, I'm not supporting Trump. I'm just pointing out the obvious here, that this campaign would be doing better, and I want them to do better. And they'd be doing better if they were appealing to the 40% of people that don't normally vote. But many of those people would vote Democrat if they are properly engaged with. Let me get to the Chris Matthews clip. This clip from MSNBC. It feels like they bring out Chris Matthews every...
Oh, God. I can't stand that guy. If there wasn't voter suppression and gerrymandering, it wouldn't even be a race at all.
few months.
I mean, seriously, like the type of stuff that Republicans have tried to attempt and in some cases passed is whew.
This guy retired like 5 years ago, but every now and then they're like, all right, we need the dumbest idea possible. Who can we call? And they get Chris Matthews, and they wheel him out for garbage like this.
True.
I've never seen a more heroic figure than Liz Cheney. She lost her state probably forever. She lost her party. She lost her leadership in the Republican House. She could have been on her way to Speaker. It was very probable. She gave it all away in the interest of truth. That's what she stood for. It's amazing to me how.
Yeah, so just to be clear, once again, I'm going to remind people that Liz Cheney voted over 90% with Trump's agenda, okay? Like, the only thing that changed here is that Liz Cheney decided that that she was going to have a brief moment of clarity and say that the election wasn't rigged, and then she lost her positions for the from the MAGA world, right? But like, just to be clear, her politics are not the problem, right? Her one disagreement was to say that the election wasn't rigged. That's it. Her politics are all in line with Republicans, really. These are DC insiders making decisions. They are clueless. Chris Matthews reminds me of a blonde Cenk Uygur back in the day when he yelled more anyways. She was in line to be cut by MAGA. She could see the writing on the wall. Well, yeah, I mean, once you go against the dear leader, it's over, right? You're rhino for life. Once you go against the dear leader, it's over, right? Because it's a cult.
Few people have gotten behind her, but now one person that's got behind her is Kamala Harris. And those sitting together, those two women, as you say, on that stage is remarkable because there's such courage there from Liz Cheney. And I cannot say anything that would stop me from saying.
Yeah, that's a good point, SV Harkin. There's no way that they would let Liz Cheney be speaker.
She's been unbelievable. And I think now if they use her for the next 2 weeks, I also want to say something about the Democrats. If you're going to use her, repay her when you get in office. Don't just act like you're giving a little nod to a Republican.
No, man. Dude, no. Listen to me. No. What? No. No. Do you honestly think that like think about it in the reverse roles, right? Do you honestly think that if like a Democrat came out and started to Cheney, or when you're done, do you honestly think that a Republican would help a Democrat in if the roles were reversed? No, man. How do you feel about the border situation? What border situation? Oh boy, I feel like this person's not going to last very long here. What border situation? Hillary Clinton is probably screaming into her pillow somewhere. She wants to be in power so badly.
Clean up some of your act. You got problems, Democrats.
This is the perfect distillation of how so much of media views electoral politics. And by the way, I'm going to get to
the people coming over border legally. Okay, but like, what's the border situation? Like, what's the problem here? Not trying to piss you off, just wanted your side, but like, what is the problem here? That's what I'm asking you. Republicans should have passed the bill. Borders are made up. Like, what is the issue that you're trying to articulate? You're just saying people coming over the border legally, okay? The problem is mass import of people who are not accounted for. Is that fine to you? I don't care. Clearly, it's not a problem. Clearly, it's not a problem if Republicans, as Michael Hasser pointed out, couldn't be bothered to pass a bill for it. So it's obviously not a problem. So I don't get it. Why bring up a non-issue? Yeah, who is importing people? That's a good question. That framing is very interesting. Yeah, so like you're claiming it's a problem, but Republicans can't, so you think it's a non-issue and it should continue? It's apparently not an issue because Republicans couldn't be bothered to pass that border bill. So you can't have it both ways. Either it's a problem or it isn't. Clearly, it's not enough to take any action on it. Displacing seems like the proper word. Who cares about Republicans? Well, they're the ones who have the power right now to do something about it. So you're saying it's a problem. Clearly, it isn't.
To the Naomi Klein clip, which is going to be a palate cleanser after watching that trash. But this thing where we lavish praise.
Honestly, listen, I'm gonna be real with you. All right, like I'm just to be very clear, like it's not really, you assume because Republicans and Dems don't fix it, it's not a problem. Listen, I'll be honest with you, I don't care. I really don't. It's objectively not an issue. It's objectively not an issue. Unless you can demonstrate like an actual problem, to me, like immigration is not really an issue. It's widely, like the honest answer is it's widely overblown. And unless you want to talk to me about sending resources, unless you want to talk to me about sending resources to fix the to fix the problem, like for example, help the global South. Unless you want to talk to me about how much resources you want to allocate to the global South, unless you want to talk to me about resources for processing asylum claims, then like I just don't want to hear it. Does that make sense? Like that's the real answer. Hey, Mouse Sander.
Is onto people who do the bare minimum, politicians who do the bare minimum, while
because like if you're just gonna come here and yell about like brown people coming over the border, like, dude, you're not gonna last very long here.
Chastising actual leaders who dare challenge the corporate status quo. There's no one that Chris Matthews hates more than Bernie Sanders. He once compared Bernie Sanders to Germany's invasion of France in 1940. Sanders, an actual leader for the people within the confines of Washington, D.C. But no, Liz Cheney, who voted with Trump.
Correct. It's a red herring issue that Republicans used to manipulate people. I'm in both places. Well, thank you.
92 point, what is it? I have it here. 92.9% of the time voted with Trump. This is a person who endorsed Trump twice and in 2020 claimed that socialism has a chokehold on the Democrats. This was just 4 years ago, pushing wild conspiracies about the Democratic Party. Also, at that time, Cheney accused Harris of supporting infanticide, announcing on national television after Biden had selected the California senator as his running mate that Harris backed, quote, abortion up until the 9th month and beyond. Cheney then proceeded to dismiss Harris's qualifications as a former elected prosecutor, state attorney general, and U.S. senator by claiming that, quote, Joe Biden clearly decided that he was going to make a choice based on somebody's gender, based on their race, and based on his need to placate the very far socialist left of his party. This is Liz Cheney just 4 years ago. look, it's good that she has decided that it's good for her career to now support Kamala Harris, because let's be clear, that's what happened here. Liz Cheney didn't want to continue going on having to defend Donald Trump, but she did it for a very long time. And not just defend him, went out there on behalf of him, excusing his garbage for a very long time, helping to bolster his xenophobia, his racism, his absolute trash. And now we're supposed to... Chris Matthews thinks that Democrats should be rewarding her for doing the bare minimum, not supporting a guy who tried to steal the election. That is deserving of an important position. This is clearly what he's arguing for. An important position within the Harris camp, the Harris administration. Completely insane. But these are the kinds of people that the media loves to reward. People that will...
I don't get it either, to be honest. I just don't get it.
Look at this maverick bucking her party.
Cheney doesn't think we have a democracy, one of her quotes.
This is benefiting her own career to do this. After losing her race in her own state, Cheney, what is Cheney going to do? Again, no one likes her. So she has tried to save her own career by attaching herself like a leech to somebody who is popular and was a lot more popular, Kamala Harris, before the leech attached herself to Harris. It's been disgusting to watch. Let me get now to the palate cleanser. This is Naomi Klein, author, activist, journalist, with her thoughts on what the Harris campaign has been doing.
I am not a fan of Harris's campaign, the choices she's made. I think she's running an extremely high-risk, dangerous campaign because she is trying to win without the base. And she's sending a message to that base that, I'm more interested in Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney and getting Republicans than I am interested in listening to Palestinians, to Muslims, to Arabs, to the left generally, to the anti-war forces. She's told us we're irrelevant. And Trump is telling us that he's going to round us up. So nobody would want this election.
Yeah, this is a very good frickin' point. She's absolutely correct.
But we've got to be smart.
I want to be clear here. I think Kamala Harris is still the favorite, even if it's a slim favorite. I do think if you have the ability to vote, if you're an American, absolutely vote for Kamala Harris. You want to avoid Donald Trump. That said, just based on how the campaign is running itself, the Harris campaign could have been running away with this, at least to a much wider margin, wider than 1%, if they had continued on the joyous campaign that they had in the first month, where they were clowning Republicans, calling them weird, and backing progressive popular policy. If that had continued, as well as on the foreign policy front, and Kamala Harris, made a shift away from where Biden has been on that into a more humane direction, this could be a much different campaign right now. But it's narrowed, and the shift is clear. It's narrowed since they have gone more conservative. That is very obvious. But these consultants, this consultant class that is just, their brains are so stuck in DC think, they believe that, because people identify as more conservative or independent than they identify as more liberal.
Yep, I agree, Mouselander. This is like 2016 kind of stepping on the rake, for so to speak.
That means they like Liz Cheney. I've brought this up many times, the polling on how people self-identify, liberal or conservative. People don't know what those labels mean. Those labels mean different things to different people. You have to look at actual policy and what is popular. If you look at actual policy, whether it's on healthcare, whether it's on expanding the social safety net, whether it's on taxes, raising the minimum wage. I covered in a video yesterday the McDonald's Trump thing. Trump didn't answer a question on the minimum wage, of course, because he doesn't support raising it. But looking at polling on that, a majority of Republicans support raising the minimum wage. And a majority of Democrats and independents support raising it to $17 an hour. These are popular policies. But appealing to conservatives appears to be what all these Democrats on the national scale end up doing, and they wonder why these races get so close.
It doesn't have to be. This is so absurd. This is so absurd. It doesn't have to be this close. It does not have to be this close. And yeah, I do think the Democrats are to blame. Anyway, shifting gears here. So, speaking of the McDonald's PR stunt.
There's a dark history behind the McDonald's Donald Trump served fries ad over the weekend, and it tells us a lot about what he would and wouldn't do as president. Years before Trump handed out Happy Meals for 15 minutes, that same exact McDonald's came under fire for its $7.25 starvation wage.
Please join us for a McRaise the Wage town hall.
$15! $15!
Muck raising the wage. I kind of like that.
The residents of the community had long been at odds with Derek Giacomotonio, the very owner of the McDonald's where Trump dipped a couple of batches of fries in oil before taking the rest of the day off to speak to the media.
Never touched by a human hand. Nice and clean.
Giacomotonio, who could afford to
Thanks, President Trump.
close his McDonald's for the day, has long opposed raising the Pennsylvania minimum wage and fought against increasing the salary threshold that would ensure more workers are eligible for overtime pay, which is probably why the team building skill on his LinkedIn doesn't have any endorsements.
Yeah, it's probably also why Donald Trump chose that particular McDonald's, right? Like, yeah. Yeah, that tracks. That tracks.
So it was extremely rich when Trump was asked if the minimum wage should be raised, and instead of assuring the people actually working there, he just said this.
Well, I think these people work hard, they're great, and I just saw something, a process that's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to see. These are great franchises and produce a lot of jobs, and it's great. And great people working here, too.
But minimum wage is $7.20.
Recently increased. So, yes, ma'am.
For Trump, this stunt was all about cosplaying as a minimum wage worker to trick voters into thinking he understands their plight. And to his credit, he might understand it, but he clearly doesn't care to fix it.
I know a lot about overtime. I'd hated to give overtime.
Yeah, we know.
I hated it.
In office, Trump opposed a minimum wage increase, gutted overtime, and appointed a union-busting fast food CEO who opposed paid sick leave to head up the Department of Labor.
There is a big difference between Donald Trump and me on a number of issues, including this, where I absolutely believe we must.
Yeah, the video is kind of low, unfortunately. But it's okay. There's only 5 seconds left. Yeah, Trump handed out some French fries and a couple of Happy Meals and called it a day.
Must raise minimum wage.
So don't let the fries fool you.
So TLDR, it makes absolutely perfect sense that the guy who owned the McDonald's, where Donald Trump did this stunt, the guy that would own this McDonald's would be that kind of guy who opposes minimum wage and fought against workers. Yeah, makes sense. McDonald's is the new Chick-fil-A. So we've got a couple of headlines, and you know what? They're not that all bad, okay? Today we're gonna end on some chill headlines, okay? We're gonna end on some chill headlines. Judge hears argument to block 10 Commandments from being displayed in every Louisiana public school. Nice. A federal judge heard arguments at a hearing Monday on whether he should temporarily block a new Louisiana law that requires the 10 Commandments to be displayed in every public school by January 1st. Louisiana, reliably Republican state in the Bible Belt, is the only state with such requirement. Proponents argue that the measure is not solely religious, but has historical significance to the foundation of U.S. law, but an expert witness brought in by the plaintiffs argued against the legislation. Stephen Green, a legal historian and professor of law, history, and religious studies at Willamette University in Oregon, testified that there's next to no evidence that the Ten Commandments were considered by the country's founders while drafting the foundation of the U.S. government and legal system. He added that the Ten Commandments were indirectly influential at best to the nation's founders. Green said he based his conclusion on numerous historical documents, writings, including correspondence between Jefferson and James Madison, who were influential in drafting the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and Bill of Rights. Attorneys for the defendants asked the judge to strike Green's testimony. Speaking with reporters after the hearing, Louisiana Attorney General Liz Muriel said Green's testimony was not proper for expert testimony and subjective, as he was not alive at the time of these things happened. Neither were you. Neither were you. So how come you get to say that this was influential by the founding fathers? And when an actual expert comes in and says, well, actually, not really, your rebuttal to that is you weren't alive at the time these things happened? Whew, boy. U.S. District Judge W. de Gravels did not immediately issue a ruling on Monday, but said he will try to reach a decision by November 15th. That date is of importance as an agreement was reached by the court and state in July, in which 5 schools specifically listed in the lawsuit will not post the commandments in classroom before that date. The deadline to comply is January 1st of 2025, remains in place for schools statewide. As the plaintiffs and defendants await a ruling on a possible preliminary injunction, a pending lawsuit challenging the new law remains. In June, parents of Louisiana public school children with various religious backgrounds filed a lawsuit arguing that the legislation violates the First Amendment, which it does, forbidding government establishment of religion or guaranteeing religious liberty. And guaranteeing religious liberty. The ACLU, which was among the groups filing the lawsuit, said its complaint represented parents who are rabbis, pastors, and reverends. Opponents say the law is an unconstitutional violation of separation of church and state, and the display of the Ten Commandments will isolate students, especially those who are not Christian. Right. This is not a Christian country, and you should not be forced. You should not be forcing indoctrination to children because you think that your fairy tale is real and more important. Like, honestly, like, if that's the case, then, like, next to the Ten Commandments, you need to display every single, like, religious text that any student wants displayed there. So you're either going to have all the religious texts displayed or none of them, right? So, yeah. The answer to that would then, the simplest answer to that, or not answer, but solution to that, would be to have none of them, okay? Because what you believe, your religious beliefs, are your religious beliefs, okay? You have your own religious beliefs, and that's fine. But you cannot force that on everybody else. This is not okay. So either everybody's is going to be on display or nobody's. And the obvious, more logical solution is to have no religion in schools. Why? That's why we have a separation of church and state, said Duplessis, who's a Democrat. We learned the Ten Commandments when we went to Sunday school. As I said on the Senate floor, if you want your kids to learn the Ten Commandments, you can take them to church. Proponents say the law is premature, as schools have not yet begun to hang up such posters. Attorneys for the defendants are requesting that suit be dismissed. State House Representative Dottie Harton is the author of the bill. In April, she defended it before the House, saying the Ten Commandments are the basis of all law in Louisiana. I don't care. You can say that if you want to. Quote, I hope and pray that Louisiana is the first state to allow moral code to be placed back into the classrooms. Since I was in kindergarten at a private school, it was always on the wall. When I learned there was a God, I knew to honor him and his laws. Red flag. Hey, here's a question. If that's the case, then why not put the Louisiana state state code of laws here instead, right? You see, that's what gives away the game, right? Because if it's truly about like, oh, well, you know, the laws were based on this anyways in Louisiana, well, then just place the laws there so students can read them, okay? Across the country, there have been conservative pushes to incorporate religion into classrooms, from Florida legislation allowing school districts to have volunteer chaplains, to counsel students in Oklahoma, to Oklahoma's top education official ordering public schools to incorporate the Bible into lessons. The new law in Louisiana has been touted by conservatives, including former President Trump. In June, the GOP presidential candidate posted on his social media network, quote, "I love the 10 Commandments in public schools, private schools, and many other places for that matter. Read it. How can we as a nation go wrong?" Yeah, let's have a science class where we prove God's existence, shall we? Yeah, let's try that one on for size, you know. Let's get a little fairness, okay? That would be more educational. Yep. Louisiana's legislation applies to all public schools, K through 12, state-funded university class. Yeah, like that's the problem, right? Like you're eroding the separation of church and state, and you the state are forcing a religion on the rest of people. This is public. Let's divide our children along lines that they very well have no business being concerned with, in my opinion, religion. Yep. It requires the 10 Commandments to be displayed on a poster or framed document at least 11 inches by 14 inches, where the text is the central focus and printed in a large, easily readable font. Each poster must also be paired with 4-paragraph context statement. Tens of thousands of posters will likely be needed to... And a waste of money on top of that. Amazing. Talk about, like, fiscally... the party of fiscal responsibility, huh? Tens of thousands of posters will likely be needed to satisfy this new law. Since Louisiana has more than 1,300 public schools, Louisiana State University has nearly 1,000 classrooms at the Baton Rouge campus alone. The mandate does not require school systems to spend public money on the posters, with Republicans saying the display will be paid by donations, or the posters themselves will be donated by groups or organizations. So if they're required, oh, I see what the deal is. So it's not going to be public funds per se. So I think that's what they're trying to use as a way to get around the separation of church and state by saying that the government technically isn't funding it. But like, hey, here's a question: if it's law and there just happens to be a scenario where they don't get these things done, what will happen, right? Questions were made about how the requirement will be enforced if the teacher refuses to hang up the 10 Commandments, and what happens if there's not enough donations to fund the mandate. Exactly. This is fascism, indeed. I hope that rule gets struck down, and I can't imagine why it wouldn't. But we'll keep our eyes on that because as a lot of these conservative bills come down the pipeline, unfortunately, the ones that do become successful become blueprints for other states. That's the problem. The ones that do become successful just end up being blueprints that other red states begin to implement. I'll be sacrificing a chicken at the start of, before every school day. So as I said, we're gonna end on some nicer news. Giuliani ordered to turn over apartment and Benz to Georgia election workers. Rudy Giuliani must give control of his New York City apartment, a 1980s Mercedes-Benz once owned by Lauren Bacall, several luxury watches, and many other assets to 2 Georgia election workers he defamed. You'll love to see it, folks. Louis Lyman, a U.S. District Judge in New York, appointed Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shay Moss as recipients of the property, and gave the former New York mayor and Trump confidant 7 days to turn over the assets. A jury ruled that Giuliani owes them about $150 million for spreading lies about them after the 2020 election, though Giuliani is appealing that ruling. Lyman said Lyman authorized the two women to immediately begin selling the assets. Quote, the road to justice for Ruby and Shea have been long, but they have never wavered, said Aaron Nathan, a lawyer representing Freeman and Moss. Last December, a jury delivered a powerful verdict in their favor, and we're proud that today's ruling makes that verdict a reality. We are proud that our clients will finally begin to receive some compensation to which they are entitled to for Giuliani's actions. This outcome should send a powerful message that there's a price to pay for those who choose to intentionally spread disinformation. A spokesperson for Giuliani did not immediately return a request for comment. In addition to his apartment on the Upper East Side, Giuliani was also ordered to turn over several items of Yankee memorabilia and around 24 watches. The two women are also entitled to fees the Trump campaign owes Giuliani for legal work in 2020. Oh man, although I will say that's going to be a bit of a tough one since Trump is not known for paying. Giuliani first listed the 3-bedroom apartment for $6.5 million in 2023, but had cut the price to a little more than $5.1 this fall. Yeah, cleaned out. Lyman did not order Giuliani to turn over a separate Palm Beach condominium for now, amid an ongoing legal dispute there. Lyman instead entered an order barring Giuliani from selling the condo while the dispute is ongoing. After losing the defamation case last fall, Giuliani declared bankruptcy to try and avoid paying Freeman and Moss the money they were owed. A judge dismissed that bankruptcy case earlier this year. After the 2020 election, Giuliani amplified a misleading video and falsely accused Freeman and Moss of illegal activity while counting ballots in Atlanta on the election night of 2020. He continued to do so even after Georgia election officials said the video showed both women doing their jobs with no issues. They also have been formally cleared of any investigations by investigators of any wrongdoing. The video and the lie about the two women became central to Donald Trump's effort to overturn the election results in Georgia. The ex-president mentioned Freeman by name on a phone call in 2021 with Georgia Secretary Brad Raffensperger, asking him to overturn the vote. Both women have rarely been seen in public since the incident, but have spoken about how it upended their lives. They received constant death threats. They were chased from their homes, lost their jobs. During the defamation trial in Washington, D.C., they spoke about the depression they faced after the election. Giuliani, who lost his law license in New York and Washington, D.C., has shown little regret for his false statements in which he insisted that everything he said about Freeman and Moss was true. Obviously not. Freeman and Moss also recently settled a defamation suit with the Gateway Pundit, a far-right news outlet that was first to publicly identify them and amplified the video. While the terms of that settlement were confidential, the site deleted all articles mentioning the two women and posted a notice acknowledging they didn't do anything wrong. I guess they didn't want the smoke either, huh? Freeman and Moss have also settled a lawsuit with One America News, a far-right network, which broadcast an apology. All those cases are being closely watched because they amount to the most significant accountability so far for those who spread lies about the 2020 election. Scholars are closely watching to understand how powerful a tool defamation law can be in curbing misinformation. Giuliani also faces criminal charges in Georgia and Arizona over his efforts to overturn the election. Yeah, dude, get wrecked. I'm glad. I'm glad that he's getting cleaned out. Good for those two ladies. Republican lawsuits over overseas and military voting hit setbacks in 2 swing states. Whew. The two Republican legal challenges to the legitimacy of ballots cast by U.S. citizens living abroad, including military. I love our military, but, not when they vote. Hit setbacks on Monday. A Michigan state judge dismissed one of 3 lawsuits that the GOP groups filed in swing states in recent weeks, while a North Carolina-based case, a state judge rejected the RNC's request for the court to order that return ballots of some overseas voters be set aside and not counted until voters' eligibility can be confirmed. The RNC is appealing the North Carolina ruling. Its attorneys told the court in a filing on Tuesday, and the DNC has filed a request for the judge to dismiss that case. In the Michigan case, Judge Seema Patel of the state's Court of Claims issued an opinion that underscored the fact that the RNC brought its case weeks before the last day of voting in the fall's election, Patel called the lawsuit an 11th hour attempt to disenfranchise youth electors in the November 5th general election. For years, Michigan has allowed eligible uniformed service members and other citizens living outside the U.S. to vote in federal elections as required by a federal law known as the Uniformed and Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act. Guidance issued by Michigan Secretary of State says a United States citizen who has never resided in the U.S. but who has a parent, legal guardian, or spouse who is domiciled in Michigan is eligible to vote in Michigan as long as the citizen has not registered or voted in another state. But in court, the RNC argued against the eligibility of that category of overseas voters, who the RNC contended did not meet the requirements under Michigan's constitution for voters to be state residents. Patel, however, concluded that the guidance language in the Secretary of State's Manual for Election Officials is consistent with federal and state law and the Michigan Constitution. In the North Carolina case, the RNC made a similar argument against state election rules that allowed absentee voting by citizens who were born outside the U.S. and whose parent or legal guardian's former residence is in the state, but with absolutely no evidence that any person has ever fraudulently claimed that exemption and actually voted in any North Carolina election. Superior Court Judge John Smith wrote in a second ruling released on Monday, the court found there's no need for an emergency court order to block that category of overseas voters from casting ballots and to segregate and not process any of their returned ballots. Nice. Oh, I just got a one of those text banking texts for the election, and apparently they think I'm in Florida, but you know what? They did bring up this here about Amendment 4 in Florida. Folks, if you're in Florida, pay attention because there's going to be certain things that are important. One of the amendments is to protect the right to bodily autonomy. So before I finish this, this text just kind of brought this to my attention. Pay attention if you live in Florida or know somebody in Florida. Amendment 4 is the amendment to protect bodily autonomy and reproductive freedom. So please vote on that amendment. Vote yes on that amendment. Just as a FYI for the folks in Florida, if you know or if you know somebody in Florida. Amendment 4. That's a yes on Amendment 4. Smith noted that the election rule the RNC is challenging has been on the books since 2011 as a bill adopted with bipartisan support, and that both sides of the lawsuit has been involved in elections under the existing statute since its passage without complaint. Right, except when Donald Trump lost. A ruling in a similar federal lawsuit brought by 6 Republican members of the U.S. House of Representatives from Pennsylvania is expected soon. Many legal experts say these cases are not likely to go anywhere, in part because they were filed after officials started sending out ballots to overseas voters, but these experts are concerned the cases are laying the groundwork for questioning the election results. Yeah, I think that's basically the underlying concern, right? While I can't imagine, people's votes being just straight up like not counted like that. The point, I think, as the article states, is that this kind of lays the groundwork for sowing doubt in the elections. But nonetheless, good that these cases are losing and are most likely going to continue to be squatted out of courtrooms because I can't imagine any of these having any kind of standing, for the lack of a better legal term, momentum whatsoever. So I don't get technical. So I can't see them having any momentum. The only issue, as the article points out, is that they can potentially be used to set the stage for sowing doubt about the election results. But nonetheless, we will continue to check on these cases, and I expect them to lose, honestly. So that's good. Whew. All right, folks. Not a moment too soon. Not a moment too soon, folks, because my voice is slowly giving out. But we made it. We made it. Thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate it. You guys are what makes this channel grow. Thank you for your support. You guys are what continue to grow this channel. And I really appreciate it, folks. If you want to keep supporting the channel, there are many different ways. If you haven't done so, hit the follow button. For the folks on YouTube, consider subscribing and hitting the like button on the stream. I see you guys, and your support is much appreciated. If you want to support the channel in other ways, you can check out the merch store, and you can hit the exclamation mark tip. If you want to directly tip your streamer, you can. If you subscribe on Twitch, you actually get now until October 31st, you actually get Discord Nitro. If you're about that, consider that as an extra perk that they're offering. Join the Discord. On that note, we'll be doing movie night this Saturday, 6 p.m. Thank you, Heat. Thank you, Michael Astor, for modding the chat. Zeoduke, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kamikaze. Thank you, Kamikaze. Whew. Thank you all. I appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Folks, spread the word far and wide. We're here Monday through Thursday. Bring a friend. This is one of the chillest places to be for the news, for the politics. I appreciate you guys. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Enjoy Taco Tuesday. See ya. Thank you, Erica. Appreciate it. All right, folks, we're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye. New song, same band. Bye-bye.